What's up? Welcome to Tales Tomorrow. I'm Morrow, your storyteller for today, and with me I have some more RPG horror stories. Can you tell that I have a little bit more energy, a little bit more pep in my step? I had a doctor's appointment recently about my type 2 diabetes that I recently got diagnosed with, and turns out I still don't need to be put on insulin, which is honestly kind of a relief, which means that it's not so bad that I need to be on insulin permanently or anything like that, that I can still take my medication and just basically work it back over time and hopefully get rid of my diabetes, or at least make it to the point where it doesn't affect my life or impact it in any significant way. Which means your boy is on his road to recovery, just as long as I keep exercising and keep eating well, which is honestly super easy to do. Anyway, enough about that. Let's get some RPG horror stories for today. I had stuff to do over a couple of weeks during the interview process on my campaign. That was one-person reaction. TW, bigotry, transphobia, death threats. Title really says it all. I'm a trans femme who was getting played for my D&D game WoW on a shattered heart, and this took place over me getting quite a bit of people for interviews because I wanted someone to be a good fit. After I did say it would take a while and said send me DMs of ideas you have for your character. I got none of that, and he didn't get picked. This is his reaction when he got rejected. I don't like being called slurs or being treated this way over a D&D game. I really hope anyone who reads this could learn not to be a Clayman47. Now this includes screenshots from the conversation, and some of them are, well, not good for YouTube. I will censor out the profile pictures and I will censor out the other names, but since the story already includes a Clayman47, it's hard to exactly point a finger to Clayman47. As long as there's no identifiable information, I think it's okay. So I'll just leave out Clayman47 name, but I'll censor out all the profile pictures and pictures of the other people that I involved in. I'll probably put down some sort of note about like who's the OP and stuff like that. But anyway, get ready, because I'm gonna have to do a lot of censoring. Interview now closed. If you want to get another game I host soon, I join here at everyone. Link will censor. Closing this Discord tomorrow. Damn, so I was not in this Discord for 3 whole ass weeks and it took that long to be told no? Yeah, I was going through some crap. Wow, seriously, go freak yourself. What a waste of my motherfucking time. 3 weeks that I could have been applying on the table. Hope you get what's coming to you, bitch. Bro, my stepdad tried to hurt me. I was in court. Boo-hoo, could have said something, fricker. Screw off. You're really angry. Yeah, you wasted 3 weeks of my time, bish. Can't apply to other games during that time. That's on you, my guy. Do you apply to one job and then wait 2 months before applying to another? Yeah, because if I'm picked for a table, I'm fully committed, idiot. Okay, hold on a second. That is a little bit silly. If you have other games that you're applying for, like, just because you show commitment, it's fine. But you can just apply to other tables too. And if one didn't respond within a couple of days, like, no biggie, just apply to a different one. And if it ends up clashing, pick the one that looks more favored to you. I just don't understand this mentality. You're fully going gung-ho to see if you can apply, and you don't get in, and now you're getting upset because you waited. You don't get to just enter a game just because you wasted your time, not spent. Wasted your time waiting so long for a response. You should be applying to everything else. And also the same thing with the jobs too. Jesus Christ. You weren't picked. What the frick ever? Oh, I can't say that. For one, I asked you to DM me ideas you had. Unlike everyone else, you didn't. A bit over the top reaction for not being able to join a D&D game. You could have applied to other games and then said no to them if you got picked here. I love that this last one is posted in #LoveAndPraise channel. The owner of this group is I can't say that. Wish your stepdad finished the job. Can't say that either. God, Clayman, you're the worst. Clayman sucks, dude. Clayman is the worst. Clayman is literally like a whiny piss baby. Dude, you didn't get picked. Find a different group. You're not a good fit for this one. And clearly not gonna be up to this kind of response. You having a baby rage moment meltdown because you weren't picked for a D&D group. Go find a different D&D group, loser. Seriously, Clayman47, you're a loser. You're straight up a loser. And the kind of things he's saying is a vile, you know? I don't think anybody wants to have anybody like that in the campaign. There might be a few people out there, but more of people like, I don't know if that's gonna be offensive to say, but people of his own ilk and his own manners. Clearly this guy has no manners and has no behavior. You know what? Listen, I was raised without a father and even I turned out right. A tiefling on the internet was raised without a father, typical. But I turned out better. You have no excuse, Clayman. You have no excuse. I'm literally the embodiment of fatherless behavior and you have no excuse, Clayman. Do better, dude. Don't be such a prick next time and maybe you'll get into a game. Anyway, I'm gonna have to do a lot of censoring for this one, but I'm gonna try to like maybe scribble it out when I make little screenshots just to make my job a little easier. Anyway, let's get to the next story for today. I think this story is actually proper this time and not just like a screenshot of somebody sending vulgarities. The single worst experience in my 10 years of GMing. This is going to be a rough one, but I need to get this off my chest. This will consist of 3 parts: a setup, an incident, and an aftermath. Sorry for the big read, I just feel I need to share this in case someone, especially new, may get insight in their games. And I feel hurt that this type of behavior is not okay in any sense. That's okay, sometimes we all need to get things off our chest, like my shirt. I'm not gonna take off my shirt on here, you nasty. I'm not gonna take it off here, but maybe I will one day. Maybe one day you'll see shirtless Morrow on a beach episode. Anyway, what am I saying? Let's get back to the story. About 6 months ago, I was running 2 separate games for my brother when he opted to merge the 2 games so that all of his friends could play together instead of trying to juggle so many schedules. Our party was very new. 2 players were on their 3rd session ever, and my brother, who has played for years. We'll call the new players Ashley and Johnson. In the other party were a group of 5 that had played together every week for about 4 months with 2 problem players. We'll call them Travis and Willingham, who are also brother and sister. One of the players in the group is 5, Willingham, is autistic. I've been doing my best to accommodate for them, and sometimes they had been very rude to other players, intentionally or not. But it wasn't my first time jamming for someone with autism, and I don't blame that all that was transpired. Just wanted to preface the situation. And just to set the tone of the problem players, Travis in the 3rd session he ever played killed my brother's character for not sharing the details of a secret letter he was sent concerning my brother's backstory, with a reckless attack. With a crit. That sounds like a very bad problem play behavior. Are you sure you want to have somebody like that after they do that? Literally they're like, "Oh, you got a letter? What's in the letter? Oh, you don't want to tell me it's a secret, huh?" I don't think you want to have somebody like that in your party. They're just gonna attack you over a letter that you won't talk about because it's a personal. Letters are personal. Why are you attacking somebody over a letter? That's some crazy ass behavior, dude. That's not okay to do. I hope you guys address that because I think if you didn't, that was gonna come back and bite you in the ass in this situation. Oh, anyways, the first session as a single group was all right. There was a good combat right off the bat, and I had a good feeling that they would work well together. Then, when they made camp, Johnson, a rogue who had gotten caught stealing somewhat foolishly the first couple of sessions, made the mistake of stealing from Travis's backpack and got caught. Ashley reprimanded him in-game and apologized and returned the belongings to their new companion, which surprised and pleased me with how well they handled it in-game and in character as a new player and tried to correct the situation. However, as Travis accepted the goods back and forgave Johnson, Willingham jumped out of their chair at the table and began cussing out Ashley for waking them from their sleep, because they were worried they wouldn't get those spell slots back since the sleep was disturbed. Ashley immediately froze and became small in her chair, and I quickly told Willingham to relax. There's no reason they wouldn't get those spells back, and that Ashley was trying to be helpful, and it wasn't right to blow up on them. Willingham shrugged it off and said they were going back to sleep, and Ashley didn't say much at all for the rest of the session. Okay, I'm already noticing a problem. That completely unwarranted. That I feel like it would be a perfect time for a DM. I mean, I understand what you said, but I think this would have been a perfect time for the DM in this situation, especially if you don't want people screaming at the table over a rest of all things, a long rest to get the spell slots back, is to say as a DM, if you do this again, you're out of this group. I don't care what the reason was. You'll get your spell slots back, but if you do this again, you're out of this group, because at this point now, we got Willingham creating the situation being tense for no reason. And I understand the player, has autism, so maybe that has something to do with it. But as a DM, you need to set the precedent and the standards for what is okay, what's not okay at your table. I don't think screaming at another player at the table is okay thing to do, regardless if anybody has any sort of conditions or anything of that like. That should just be a standard. Don't do this. If you do this again, you're out of my game. And I feel like this would have been a perfect time to maybe talk to Willingham aside, or just tell him straight up out in the open. I don't know. The fact that your player doesn't even feel bad, they just kind of shrug and sit down without anything, is baffling to me. Maybe I'm reading too much into it already early on. It's like we only got through like the first couple of paragraphs, but maybe you're being a little bit too soft in the players. You need to be a little more stern and say some behavior just not allowed, not tolerated. Like the whole like attacking somebody over a letter. Say, hey, don't just PvP outright over a stupid letter just because you didn't get your way. because I'm not gonna have that at the table. At the end of the day, DMs, I feel like, need to obviously not be mean about it, but should be stern about the rules they have at the table and should uphold it as a code of conduct in a way. And if people break that code of conduct, you have the right to remove them from the table because that makes everybody else uncomfortable. And I think maybe, just maybe, it might be a situation of you being a little bit too lax with problem players. What Ashley and Johnson did was just roleplay. It didn't warrant them to be yelled at about Willingham. That's not an okay thing to do. At least I don't think so. And now you're gonna have a player that's gonna feel self-conscious about saying anything at all because God forbid they're gonna be yelled at about Willingham. I also said I would talk with Willingham about it, since I told Willingham and Travis before that I wouldn't stand for any player at my table feeling uncomfortable or unwelcome. When I did reach out, Willingham never responded, but Travis said they would talk to Willingham and they understood it was out of line and it wouldn't happen again. If somebody doesn't respond, that can all be questionable about whether they even saw the message or not. Maybe they saw it and ignored it. Maybe they did see it, acknowledged it, but were too embarrassed to write anything back. I have no idea. Now, after that, the group had some downtime out of game at the new city they arrived at. And once again, the rogue player tried to steal something and got caught off bad rolls. I had to sit down with Johnson and tell him that in D&D you can't rely on only the dice and stats. They should approach situation as if in character and not go in just math. Maybe a more clever solution than breaking into nobles' houses in broad daylight would actually reap them some benefits if done cleverly. They agreed, and the rest of the party received a letter from him in dungeon saying that he'd been captured and listed his bail amount. Now this week, a couple people were out of town, and only Johnson, Travis, and Willingham were able to play. But I figured they were in a new city, and the rest of the party wouldn't miss any core story points. And the three players all agreed days in advance to bail Johnson out of dungeon and then explore a sort of side quest at a local theater together. The three players showed up in the session ready to bail out the rogue and go check on their theater quest. Now in Johnson's backstory, he hates magic. He's very uncomfortable with it, and he made it clear he has a fear of it because he doesn't understand it. So at the start of the session, Willingham used a sending spell to communicate to Johnson that she and Travis were going to come get him and ask if they knew anything about possibly breaking him out instead of paying bail. Johnson, in his first time with the spell being cast on him, looked at me and said, "What do I do? Would I understand this magic and how it works?" I had him roll intelligence. He rolled a 3. So I said he wouldn't understand how it works, and based off his backstory would feel probably a bit uncomfortable hearing voices in his head. He agreed and didn't respond. And Willingham proceeded to call him out of game as if it made any difference. A freaking idiot, a waste of a 3rd level spell slot. Frig that, we leaving him in there. We could do the theater quest without him. At this point, I argued that I made the ruling and that if they weren't happy about it, then they should be upset at my ruling, not at Johnson for playing true to their character finally as a new player. But they shrugged it off again and said they were going to the theater. Willingham's condition with autism is no excuse for them being a complete asshole, and this was an asshole behavior. Complete freaking prick. Calling somebody a waste of a 3rd level spell slot instead of acknowledging the fact that the player divulged to the party that, hey, I'm not really comfortable with magic and stuff. No, they're being self-centered, decided, you're a waste of my spell slot. We should just leave you to rot in prison and do the theater quest ourselves. So self-important righteous. You know, I kind of wanted to call them self-important righteous because they're so fixated on their own spell slots and their own things. I feel like, generally, Willingham, it just doesn't care for anybody else except themselves, and they only care about what their character does and what their character wants to do and what the player wants to do. Because yet again, they have another outburst of screaming at a player at a table, not in character, screaming at another person at a table, calling them a waste of a 3rd level spell slot. Oh, I'm sorry, so self-important, self-righteous, and so self-well-known. Fuck yourself, Willingham. Fuck yourself. Travis hasn't done much ever since the incident with the letter, but Willingham is being completely disrespectful to the player. DM, I really hope you do something about Willingham. You need to put your foot down and say this behavior is not going to be allowed at your table. I mean, I don't know. Let me ask you, DM, would you want this behavior at your table? Huh? Do you want a player just to scream and yell at somebody whenever something is inconvenient for them? Do you want that? Do you want somebody being an asshole to other players? Because if you want, have Willingham in your game, no problem. I honestly would have kicked Willingham by this time. As a DM, you have every full right to put your foot down on behavior that you will not accept at your table, and you have the right to do so. This kind of behavior is disruptive to the table. It causes other players to feel uncomfortable because they have literally somebody that's so self-important scream at them Willingham at the table in person right at them and call no waste of a third level spell slot, or scream at them because I'm not gonna get my spell slots if I can't quote-unquote sleep. Willingham's behavior is unacceptable. They're a self-important a-hole, and honestly I think they shouldn't be in this game. They would just ruin the game for you, DM. As a GM, I'm now silently upset because I knew what's coming. Don't be silently upset, be vocal about it. Say this behavior is not okay and it will not be tolerated, and one more outburst out of my game permanently. Put your foot down, DM. Put your foot down. I understand some DMs don't want to be like quote-unquote mean at the table, but in this situation the heat is already turned up with the players screaming at the other table at the table. You need to take the reins, take control, and set boundaries. Immediate hard boundaries. If somebody goes out of line, if the problem players go out of line and break the decorum again and start screaming for no reason at another player, you need to let them know if that happens again, they're out of this game, out of this table, and not willing to tolerate some self-important baby raging, because this is what it is. It's baby raging. Character is so self-important. You wasting my precious third level spell slot. How dare you rot in prison? We'll go do the quest by ourselves. Wow, so self-important. Wow, you're the most important person at the table, aren't you, Willingham? Huh? I've dealt with people that feel self-important. I've dealt with so many people in D&D specifically that felt so self-important that if it wasn't getting their way, they would make it everyone else's problem, and I don't have tolerance for that anymore. I don't tolerate that. I'll put my foot down, no problem. And this way, I feel like DM needs to also put their foot down right now. I'm gonna have to run 2 separate sessions. You could always just focus on Johnson, try to get out of prison, or if Travis is willing to break Johnson out, maybe get like a whole other plan. Maybe like there's a new plan they come up with, disguise as a guard or something. I don't know. I feel like you already had a plan, breaking the guy out of prison. You don't have to run 2 separate sessions. That'd just be a lot of work for you. You're putting a lot of work on yourself when you really don't have to, DM. You really don't have to. Because there's no way I'm just going to leave Johnson out of the game because the other 2 changed their minds on the spot like that. So I do. As I'm running for Travis and Willingham at the theater, I'm running a text-based session with Johnson as he tried to break out of prison with his one lockpick he had left. And what a session Johnson had. Finally, this new player made some incredibly creative decisions, had a great role to back him up, got a ton of information about the corruption of the city which would lead to the main story plot, and escaped out of the dungeons. And it took him 2 hours and 31 minutes. For 2 hours and 31 minutes, Travis and Willingham played on and didn't know that I was running a text-based session with Johnson. For 2 hours and 31 minutes, they ignored the only other player at the table with them, even when they were under the impression that he was not getting to play at all. It sounds like those 2 hours and 31 minutes well spent good thinking on, honestly, to involve Johnson. But honestly, you know what? With how horrible Willingham and Travis behaved, I don't think they should have gotten a session at all. You should have been like, you know what, guys? You guys act like a-holes. Because of that, I'm not gonna do anything with you. You can leave the table. I'm just gonna play with Johnson instead. Because clearly, Johnson is here to get involved in. Johnson actually wants to participate. Johnson wants to play up to their character, not just be an a-hole screaming at somebody at the table. Wow, Johnson's such a nice player because they don't scream at somebody at the table, huh? DM, maybe it might be perhaps a coinkydink. Maybe it might be a hint that maybe Johnson's better to play with than Travis and Willingham. Listen, I know I'm already pissed at them and I'm already kind of like, you know, I'm already wound up, but I'm an angry tiefling. I'm an angry tiefling. The one thing I hate at the table is a-holes. Another thing I hate at the table is DMs that let a-holes get away with anything. It's the worst. It makes me so peeved when all you have to do is just put your foot down, DM. Just put that foot down. Come on. So by this time, Johnson had made it back to the inn and Travis says, well, we can't figure out this mystery at the theater, so I guess we can go get Johnson. So he goes to the keep an hour after Johnson had escaped and tells the guards that he is his companion. The guards say that he had escaped and must be questioned, and Travis rolls a natural 1 on deception to be excused. So the guards take him in for questioning. Once inside with the warden, Travis once again rolls a natural 1 for deception and is caught lying about crimes he had committed prior to the session. So he's thrown in the cell until Johnson is at least found and pays his bail. At this point, Travis declares at the table, "This is freaking bullcrap. Next time I see Johnson's character, I'm killing him." Willingham is also angry, but is refusing to help Travis now, saying that she doesn't want to pay her gold to get him out. So Johnson, having heard all this, which he knows but his character doesn't know, changes from prisoner's clothes back into his armor and speaks with Willingham's character and says in game, "Oh, he got arrested too? No worries. I just got out of there. I know a secret exit. I'll go save him." As Johnson breaks back in, he again makes a very clever and creative ways to accomplish his goals. And I'm thinking it's a shame, because this is the best session yet, and he deserves a good time. But when he gets to Travis's character, he offers to grab his gear from the evidence chest that he stole the key from earlier, and Travis says, "No, get me the frick out of here, now." So Johnson sneaks him out as Travis complains about losing his new great axe. Now at this point, the group hears bells in the city, as there have been 2 prisoner escapes right out from the royal keep, and now the city guard are sweeping the streets looking for anyone in prisoners' clothes. So Willingham flees without the other in the north gate of the city, and Johnson helps Travis to the south gate of the city. As they approach the gate, Travis says, "I'll push Johnson down behind the building and go up to the gate myself." Okay? He approaches the guards. "Hey guards, one of the prisoners from the escape is right there. I saw him wearing the prisoner's clothes. Go over there together to get him." He rolled for deception. While wearing prisoner's clothes, the only good thing that can come from this is a satisfying resolution where Travis actually gets in trouble and Johnson gets to escape. Why does DM even entertain these problem players? Clearly they're a nuisance. Clearly they are annoying to deal with. Clearly they're terrible to be around. Let's just see how it ends. I think I'm done fuming. I just want to see how this ends. I got my own thoughts about this, but actually no, I already voiced my thoughts. You know exactly what I'm thinking. But let's see how this ends. Johnson quickly approached and attempted to bribe the guards with the gold he found in a keep, using all of it, his entire reward for finally being a successful rogue, to get them out of the city. At this point, I said we're going to end the session there, got up to get some water, having been stressed out of my mind trying to keep all my brother's friends civil while he's out of town, not even here. But when I get back from grabbing a cup of water, once again, Travis and Willingham are at the table berating Johnson about not doing things the way they wanted, for making stupid decisions, for being a freaking idiot, and for ruining their night. I said that's enough, and for everyone to head out, and we'll talk about what would happen going forward later. Because I was not okay with what happened at all. I really hope you got to talk with Johnson, honestly. Like seriously, Johnson's just trying their best. They're new to it and all. They're clearly new. They're trying to be creative. They're trying to participate. Instead, they're getting berated by complete, utter a-holes. DM, please kick out the a-holes. And also talk to Johnson. Tell him, yo, you didn't do anything wrong. You're fine. I loved having you in this table. I loved running your stuff for you as a text adventure. For the last 2.5 hours of it had together was fantastic. You got to do some really cool stuff. Seriously, like for real. Why do you tolerate Travis and Willingham when you have somebody like Johnson? Be like guys, if you're gonna be a player, be like Johnson. Don't be like Travis or Willingham. Travis and Willingham are great examples of what you should not be. Johnson was very upset that night, and I thought he had actually played well, which he generally had, and that he had gotten yelled at for it. I told him not to worry and that I would take care of it, and that the behavior was not going to be allowed at my table any further. My brother was also pissed when he found out that some of his friends treated another one of his other games in that way and agreed I should talk with Travis and Willingham. The aftermath. I asked Travis and Willingham to call the next day to discuss all that happened. I addressed everything and made sure to show them the message times for when I started the text session with Johnson and when I finished it, showing that they ignored him for over 2.5 hours and they saw no problem with it. I also addressed the language and attitude towards him specifically, and they said they didn't understand what was wrong with it. They said, and I quote, "That was our most fun session we ever played though. How was any of that wrong? You and Johnson just don't understand how D&D works. This is how it's supposed to be." Are you fucking kidding me? That's how it's supposed to be when you scream at somebody at the table for being a freaking idiot or something? Are you kidding me? When you scream at somebody being self-righteous, "You wasted my 3rd level spell slot. This is how D&D is supposed to be. I'm supposed to be able to yell at anybody that considered an idiot, even though I'm clearly a prick." Fuck you, Willingham. Fuck you, Travis. Literally the worst. Not even players, people that you could ever play with or interact with or even share the same oxygen with. I can't believe I'm sharing the same oxygen with somebody like Travis and Willingham. I wish I didn't share the same oxygen with them. I wish they would get their own oxygen that doesn't share oxygen with mine. I hope you can explain to them exactly what is wrong, but honestly at this point, I think they're too dumb. I don't think you have enough crayons to explain to them exactly what is wrong. I told them that no healthy table anywhere plays like this. And as the GM, if they were going to be at my table, I needed to be respect for my players and not outbursts of berating them for their choices. And that I really thought they should apologize to Johnson because he was feeling pretty hurt about the whole situation. You know, I'm gonna say something that might seem incendiary, or maybe some of you all will agree. This is not a time to ask for apologies. This is a time to demand your problem players to give apology and to fit with the decorum and stop being such pricks at the table. No more asks, demand. If they can't answer to your demand of being respectful at a table, they don't get to play at your table. Simple as that. Some people you can ask and be courteous with, but these guys are a-holes. Some clowns are just past politeness, and these clowns are 100% past politeness. You don't ask them for anything nice. You don't be courteous with them. At this point, you demand them to stand the fuck down, or you get them the fuck out of the game. Simple as that. Got him, fucking pissed. I'm livid. These guys are so insufferable. Ah! They said that was unreasonable and that I didn't know how to run D&D, so they were going to leave the game. Later that night, they messaged me that I ambushed them by addressing the situation and that I punished them in the outcome of the 2 nat 1s that Travis rolled in the deception check. You know, problem players left. Block them, move on. Play with good people that you have at the table. You still have great people at the table. Ashley, Johnson, your brother, 2 other people. I think there were 2 other people. They're like 5 from the other group. Anyway, whatever you have at your table is great because no longer do you have the problem players because they quit. They removed themselves from the table. They punished themselves. It is finally time to ignore them and block them and to move on with the game and play with good people at your table. Less than 2 days ago, after this phone call, they reached out to my brother and to Johnson to apologize for their actions, but never responded to my messages about apologizing that they felt ambushed and that I was sorry D&D just didn't work out for their friend group. In 10 years, I never experienced players like this. Am I crazy? Is this the norm now? My core group with all my friends would never play like this, let alone talk to each other like that. It's not the norm. I feel like, you know, I just don't have I need to save my energy because I still got more stories to record and I probably need more of this tiefling fire in me. But everything that I said, I meet a DM. These are problem players that are not worth your time. It's good to have this experience for you, however, and to learn from it. What you should take away from it is some players just want to watch the world burn. You're not even a fun like, oh, watch the world burn in an exciting way, but they want to just make it about themselves. Selfish players that think they're so self-important, and problem players. Put your foot down with problem players and don't let them stomp all over your game like it's their own little playground, their own little sandcastle, their own sandbox. You got a good group of players now that you're playing with. Focus on them. Ignore Travis, ignore Willingham, block him completely. They're a waste of time, waste of space. They're not worth your time. You have other people to play with, so focus on them. I'm gonna end the video right here and I'll get to recording some more stories and save my tiefling fire. I let out a little bit too much of it this episode, so sorry if I got a little bit heated, but I mean, I guess makes sense. Tiefling, hellspawn, that kind of thing. And with that, that's gonna be all our stories for today. I want to thank you very much for watching and thank you so much for being here. If you like what I do, consider subscribing to the channel and leaving a like. Also, if the RPG Horror Stories ever goes down or if you want to submit your own personalized horror story, email is down in the description below. I'll see you again in more Tales Tomorrow. Bye-bye.